Someone asked me such an incredibly fun question. If you were listening to music in a plane going twice the speed of sound, would it be reversed? I love the Doppler effect. You probably already know this, but the Doppler effect is this. I have all the safety stuff shut off and a loudspeaker on my drone. The faster the sound passes, the more the pitch bends. Why? The tone or frequency that I hear would be the frequency of the observer. That is equal to the frequency of the source, which is figured out by putting velocity over velocity minus the source velocity. Now, if you're not mathy, fear not, because math doesn't really explain how Doppler works all that well anyway, and I am equipped with a lot of visualizations and metaphors. Let's go. In physics, sound is just a bunch of pressure waves moving around in the atmosphere. Here's a sine wave. As it gets higher and higher, the compressions and rarefactions of those pressure waves get closer together. Lower, higher, lower, higher. Okay, let's get into the weeds here. Here's me in a hot field. Here's the drone, or sound source. Now let's say that the drone is playing a sine wave, but the pressure waves are dampened and restricted by the Earth's atmosphere, which is why you can't hear somebody speaking from a mile away. Unless that person speaking is me after like 2 beers. Maybe a good way of thinking about this is shooting an arrow underwater. It's safe to assume that it'll run out of energy pretty quickly. All right, so imagine a speeding submarine and we are shooting a sequence of arrows out of the front and back of it. The arrows in front, or the direction that the submarine is heading, would run out of energy faster and the sequence of them would compress, while the sequence of arrows in the back would expand. Okay, so back to me in this unforgiving, hot and humid field. When the drone with the speaker on it flies towards me, the sound waves are higher in front of it and lower behind it. So here's the fun part. What happens when we start pushing the boundaries of the speed of sound, which is about 767 miles per hour? By the way, I've measured everything in this field rigorously, so these are painfully accurate audio simulations. I'm going to recite the alphabet and then auto-tune it to 440 hertz, which is the note of A. What? And then play that from the simulated drone speaker. If the drone were going 35 miles per hour, it would sound like this. Now let's speed it up to 85 miles per hour. It sounds like this. Let's pick up the speed, increase the volume to almost deafening levels, and go 384 miles per hour, which is about half the speed of sound. Now let's speed it up to 612 miles per hour, and we are getting very close to the speed of sound. Increased to 773 miles per hour, the speaker is now coming at us just above the speed of sound. Now this is where things get a bit crazy. The sonic pressure gets so compressed that it becomes a powerful physical force that not only would slow down the drone, but would lower the air pressure enough to cause a drop in temperature. If it's humid outside, that drop in pressure and temperature would also cause the drone to extract and collect water from the air. As most high-speed planes are, let's say that the drone is more powerful than that wall of pressure and cuts right through it. The entire pressure barrier or cavitation bubble collapses in on itself, creating a shock wave and subsequently a sonic boom. So in reality, as the drone approached me, I would hear this. Nothing. Then I would hear this, the sound of the pressure collapsing. There's a common misconception that the sonic boom only happens once when you break the speed threshold of the sound barrier. This is not true. It's constant because the pressure waves of the plane or drone are now in its wake. But if a plane were to fly from California to New York at 1,000 miles per hour, every stationary observer in its path would hear the sonic boom. By the way, the speed of sound is not only limited to high-speed aircraft. I oddly don't own a bullwhip, but I do own a wet towel. And the end of the wet towel, when snapped correctly, will make a... That snap you're hearing is actually the end of the towel breaking the sound barrier. All right, let's actually give a real answer to the specific question that started this whole thing off. If you, the observer, are in a plane going twice the speed of sound, pressure waves inside the cabin will be moving relative to you. So in other words, music would sound normal. In fact, the only way you would be able to hear the sonic boom created from your aircraft would be if it slowed down and let the exterior sound waves catch up to you. Okay, but what if a loudspeaker flew by at double the speed of sound? What would that sound like to me, the observer? NASA and Lockheed Martin are working on a plane that can allegedly minimize the sonic boom to be only 75 decibels, which is about as loud as a closet door shutting. That is really impressive. So let's replace my hypothetical drone with a miniature version of one of those and then put a loudspeaker on it. Not to get too detailed, but mathematically there is a bit of a problem here. The sound or sonic pressure coming out of the loudspeaker would be adding to the pressure waves, but the majority of the cavitation bubble collapsing will be caused by the aircraft, not the sound that it's carrying from the loudspeaker. So let's just roughly assume that this adds 10 decibels. All right, here comes our drone at 1,120 miles per hour. We're gonna need to slow things down a bit. Let's change the atmosphere to super dense tungsten hexafluoride gas, where the speed of sound should be 70 miles per hour or 31 meters per second. By the way, I seem to be the first person to try and calculate this that I could find on the internet anyway, so who knows how right or wrong I am. Now that the hypothetical air around me is a highly corrosive, toxic environment that would have my voice sounding like
this while I suffocated, let's fly that drone at double the speed of sound and hear it.
So the super quiet NASA drone with a really powerful loudspeaker comes at me at 140 miles per hour, double the speed of sound in this new atmosphere, and my auto-tuned voice is reciting the alphabet through the speaker, and right after it's passing over me, I'm left in the wake of temporarily inverted sound waves, which is a fancy way of saying backwards. To a lot of my viewers, this probably sounds hyperbolic, crazy, at the very least, like fringe science, but way back in 1896, Lord Rayleigh wrote in his Theory of Sound, if the source is moving towards the observer at twice the speed of sound, a musical piece emitted by that source would be heard in correct time and tone, but backwards. But still, it would be another half century before the flight of the Bell X-1 before a human being would be witnessing something breaking the sound barrier. But even then, the backwards music phenomenon made sense on paper, but it was still an unproven hypothesis all the way up until 2008, when researchers proved it in the process of writing the blockbuster hit that summer, Reproduction of Virtual Sound Sources Moving at Supersonic Speeds in Wave Field Synthesis. In nature, and for quite a long time now in technology, Doppler is used all around us, from bats targeting prey to weather imaging to medical ultrasound imaging. It amazingly allows us to precisely calculate the location and trajectory of things that we otherwise could not see. So there you have it, Caleb bunch of numbers. No, the music would not be backwards in the airplane, but yes, if you replaced our atmosphere with the densest gas and built a tiny sonic boom-proof drone and attached a speaker to it, it would very briefly play backwards music. My work here is done. This channel is sponsored by viewers like you, and it operates as a nonprofit organization. And if you like this video, or if you learned anything today, then my Patreon has tons of perks, a vibrant community, and a monthly songwriting challenge that keeps you inspired. It's as little as $1. Thanks for watching. Keep creating. Bye.